I have a confession. I am ready to talk about my very complicated relationship with Mel Robbins. For years, Mel Robbins was one of my favorite people on the internet. I bought all her books. I listened to her podcast. I watched her online. I watched her, you know, in other people's programs. She was one of the featured coaches in the Growth Day coaching program that I was a part of. And my relationship with her has changed. I recommended her constantly. I quoted her. I promoted her. And a lot of what she said and what she taught really resonated with me. And then something changed. Not because she changed, because I changed. I found myself starting to get annoyed when I would hear her talk and triggered, and no, I wasn't like pulled to listen to her anymore. And I wasn't 100% sure of where this all was coming from. Now, I loved Mel because I I loved the 5 second rule. I thought it was a very transformative, simple little tool that could make a huge difference. And it came along at a time in my life when I needed something like that. I really started to follow her sort of like pre-pandemic into the pandemic. And I found her no nonsense, direct. We're gonna make it happen. I've got you. I'm your friend, Mel. Like her whole direct, down to earth approach really resonated with me. And I really connected with her no nonsense report. I liked how she showed up imperfectly. She would show up online like first thing in the morning, no makeup on. She would share when she wasn't feeling well or doing well. She was very, very, very relatable. And so all of that really spoke to me. She made it feel very possible to make massive change. And she made it possible to feel like little things would pile up to become massive change. And I found that very inspiring. The first time she triggered me was when she started to talk about friendship, finding friends and making friends and friendships in midlife. That was my first trigger. I found myself getting so annoyed and even downright angry. She did several episodes on her podcast about how difficult it is for adults to make friends. And I wanted to raise my hand and say, what are you talking about? Because as a solo woman, oops, I'm hitting my microphone, sorry about that. As a solo woman who has spent most of my adult life single, I have put a lot of time, energy, resources, focus, bandwidth into finding, nurturing, creating, expanding friendship. And I put a lot of energy and time into friendship, and I feel like I know a lot about it and about how to do it. And I was resentful because Mel represented one of the women in our age range who is now all of a sudden finding themselves as empty nesters. They're suddenly coming out of hiding or coming out of hibernation and looking around and going, oh, where are my friends? There's no friends. We've been there all along. You forgot about us years ago. We've been putting in the work, and we're still putting in the work, and we're connecting on our own, like elsewhere. If you want to come join us, you're more than welcome. I'm going off on a tangent here because you're seeing how it triggered me. And I realized that like the reason why I was getting annoyed, the reason why I was getting triggered, that it was saying something about me. It wasn't saying anything about Mel. But that's when my triggering began with her. And then it slowly started to build, and I slowly found myself becoming more and more. repelled instead of compelled or attracted to her message and what she was all about. I realized that I started questioning everything within her. Like I started to question, is she is okay, she sounds like she's being for real. She sounds like she's being my friend. She sounds like she's like relatable, but is she being authentic really? Has she really struggled? Has she really known what real struggle is? Has she really had to make something happen coming from like the worst place ever? Like, has she really done any of that? And it was start like the more I sort of read up on her and read up on her beginnings and her education and her early career, on paper it appears like no, she's always had it pretty darn good. Sure, I'm sure she's had some low times, but not the kind of low times that I felt like that she was representing and pretending that she had experienced. And so I found myself sort of like losing faith and losing trust in her, which was also at the same time kind of sad for me because so much of her messaging in the beginning was a lifeline for me, made such a huge difference in my life. Really, she's really one of the influences that helped me get through the pandemic. And again, if you check out I'm doing on another playlist on this channel, I'm sharing my sabbatical diaries from when I took a sabbatical, and I talk about Mel Robbins and I highlight what she was teaching me, and she was helping me find clarity about myself. So I found it a little sad that I was kind of losing my attraction for her. Then the internet turned against her. The more Mel grew, like her podcast took off, and you know, she talked for many years about launching a podcast, about it being something she wanted to do, and she finally did it. And she kind of acted like she's just like the rest of us who are launching a podcast for the first time, because hers became like one of the top rated on Apple and Spotify pretty quickly, got all kinds of awards. But they did kind of act like it started from nothing. But anyway, the internet began to push against her. Her podcast took off. She was always one of the most successful motivational speakers, keynote speakers in the country, one of the highest paid female speakers, I think. I don't know why there's a female distinction, but that's what I've read. So she's always had like a lot of success in this realm. And she has started doing these live shows that have been getting like huge support. So she's just really taken off. So the more that she's taken off, the backlash and the hate started, which we all know happens, right? And it really got bad after she released her book, Let Them, which I do have, and the Let Them theory. Her critics accuse Mel of stealing the Let Them theory and presenting it as if it's something that she created, which I don't know. You can see, I actually can see both sides of this argument. Don't come at me in the comments on this, that, this topic is really controversial. But I know that there was a poet who wrote a poem called Let Them that had a similar concept to her Let Them theory book. The theory of Let Them is basically, if other people outside in the world are going to do certain things or treat you certain ways or act a certain way, let them. You can't control who they are. You can't control, what they're going to do. So there's no sense in spending a ton of energy trying to change that reality. The first part of the book was let them, and then it goes on to the second part, which is let me. So once like if somebody's, for example, somebody's treating you poorly, let them. And then let me decide how I want to do, what do I want to do as a result of that? Am I ready to I'll just cut them out of my life, or Do I want to like say my piece and then leave? Like, what is it that I want to do? So it was a very, practical book, but the backlash came that Mel didn't credit this original poet, or people even have pointed to a lot of other theories and philosophies that it's very similar to. Okay, so I get it. I get the back and forth. It's another book. It's another perspective on, but we've got a lot of books that are on like similar perspectives, right? So once I started seeing like the world pushing against Mel and all this backlash, I started to feel a little. I felt a certain way because I felt like it was coming from a very misogynistic place. And I felt like, okay, here's this woman who's now taking off into, a huge area of success, and the world doesn't like the way she's doing it, or the world doesn't like the way that she shows up, or the world doesn't like what she's getting as a result of it, and the world's going to push back. And this is the world at large. This isn't just men, it's men, women. So obviously, the bigger somebody gets, the more success they get, they're going to get more hate. They're going to get more haters. And I get that. So I started to feel a certain way, but not enough where I was completely back on board with being a huge fan like I had been. I was a huge fan. Like I was a stan for Mel Robbins. And so I wasn't getting back to that. So it was really complicated. Then add into this complication my coach Glow at Tanmo, who I've been working with for a few years now. I've mentioned her a few times on this channel, and many times in other places I've interviewed her on my podcast. I went to 2 of her boot camps in Bangkok in November, Bangkok and Chiang Mai. So another layer of complication. Glow knows Mel. And I don't mean that like she knows her online and she knows her podcast or she knows her books. She knows her in real life. And they have spent real time together, and they have connected, and they are friends. They've spent time together personally and as professional colleagues. And Glow is someone who I very much trust and very much admire and has huge amounts of integrity. And Glow vouches for Mel. Not that Mel needs people vouching for her, but Glow will tell you Mel is the real deal. She is who she says she is, and she means what she says, and that she's authentic. So that goes a long way for me. That somebody that I know and trust so deeply can give me firsthand knowledge that someone else is actually a really good human being. So that helps. That helps a lot. So here's where it gets a little complicated. It's time for me to admit it's time for me to admit that I think I'm a little envious of Mel. I think I'm a little jealous. I'm not sure that it's necessarily. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that it's her life that I want. I don't know that I want what she has, but I do like that she gets heard, and that what she says hits people and causes a reaction and causes conversation and causes commitment and loyalty and causes action. Like I am a little bit like envious of the impact that she has had on the world. And she is sometimes a mirror for me of, had I done things differently. Oof, I don't want to get into the regret thing. Like, had I done things differently, had I Had I focused on things differently, had I become a slightly different person, would I have the same amount of success that she has? And so and it makes me question what is success? What does success mean for me? And how does it play out? And what's important? And then it triggers the cost of success, because what stops me from wanting her life, well, not her life, but her business model, the success that she's built, what makes me not want it is I don't know that I am willing to give all that she's given. I don't know that I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I don't know that I want to work as hard as she's worked. I mean, she's go, go, go. Her company's huge now. And, she's all over the place, like all the time, and traveling everywhere. And it just seems like a really high, intense life with a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifice. And at this point, it's not conducive to the type of soft life that I have been living. So it it sparks all those kinds of feelings, and like, what is the cost? So all of this to say, to come full circle, Mel is a mirror for me, and I can't help but to be grateful to Mel for that. She's caused me to see the good, the bad, the ugly in me. When I find myself triggered, it makes me peel it back and figure it out. Is it grief? Is it envy? Is there something I want to do? Is there a way I want to be that I'm not? All of those things. And that has helped me. So my question to you is there somebody that you used to admire that now triggers you? Who do you admire, and how do they trigger you? And is it possible that those triggers are telling you something about yourself? Are they your mirror? As always, I would love to hear in the comments, and check out the resources that I have made for all of us in this pre-retirement phase of our lives. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your Gen X Big Sister, and I am signing out.